while the general devastation has been a nightmare and the recovery process will take time, this pause in sports has given us a new understanding of both the betting market and today's fan. The gaming industry, like nearly every other, has been negatively impacted by the outbreak and will make up lost ground this year without question. According to the American Gaming Association, industry-wide revenue is expected to decline just over 40%, or near $39 billion in 2020.
I think when you speak about procurement, I think what has to maintain, what we have to keep in mind is a couple things. In order to keep the data and the providers honest, the guys that actually create the data, right? They have to be honest. We have to keep them honest. So I mean, obviously, data comes from two sources. Essentially, it's made up, as I mentioned it maybe earlier. Data's a grouping of actuarial computations, digital inputs, if you will, and it's ingested by a software, but it's put in with human inputs.
Now with the notion of artificial intelligence coming in, you can bring in all of this unstructured data and all these new data points that Mike's talking about in a way that can act on millions of pieces of data in really an instant to enhance a customer experience, whether that means a more specified, personalized digital ad that's being placed on their favorite web page, or it's being used to modify the proposition screen on their mobile sports betting app or online sports betting site that they like to visit, and putting what the machine learning dictates as the best next proposition to put in front of a customer.
In the U.S. market, what we kind of find is that the volume is starting to get there, but the size of the bet is significantly higher. And so I think what we're doing at Foxwoods is exactly that, inviting team members in, talking to them, and just educating on the terminology and all the pieces there. So I feel like there is a knowledge gap and there is a gap, but it's not anything that's not insurmountable. It's really about making the resources available so that smart analysts and statisticians and kind of database managers and directors that want to be able to pivot into that have the access to all of the information to be able to learn it.
I think that there's an opportunity there. It's a matter of who wants to take that leap and play in the blue ocean and own the blue ocean and get all the upside that's associated with being in the blue ocean, and wait for everybody else to figure it out once you have that total ownership. So I think it's high. I think the capabilities are there, and I think that the regulators, as Ricardo will talk to, are open to it.
Partnerships with these kind of new innovative companies with your traditional sports books, because again, that will help tackle what we've seen with traditional sports and the downfall of PASPA is that you have to target the illegal market. And what better way to do that than work with people that have knowledge of that, knowledge of the consumers and the traditional sports books that will know how to operate, and take the wagers with your traditional sports betting market.
So we want to compete based on product, and we don't necessarily want to be beholden to a specific location. So something like New Jersey, something like Colorado that has remote registration, now the key factor for a customer can be product. And I think that's where we really shine.
The flexibility that's needed for Indian Country to be able to provide customer experiences, positive customer experiences while addressing customer concerns needs to be reflected in our statutory and regulatory framework. We need to advocate for flexibility so that as tribes try to provide valuable services, they can do so in the most flexible ways possible.
Every single tribe is going over the top in safety measures and everything else to remain open. And again, as we're all very well aware, these operations fund so many programs, so many lives are touched that, and not having these funds available is, a huge hardship on the tribes. But again, to the point everybody's made, they're doing it extremely responsibly. and for the safety not only of guests but team members and tribal members themselves.
But what we were doing prior to that was trying to find out a solution for our draw game issue. Like Gordon said, we have Fast Play in Arkansas, and it is just a game that is excellent, and the growth of that game has been exponential over the last 5 or 6 years. I would encourage any state that does not have some type of progressive Fast Play game to consider that, because that is something that probably saved us this year, or at least supplemented some of the down from multi-state game lags.
But as we look to the future, we are looking at a lot of things in terms of not just being a lottery, but being an entertainment provider. And so we have a lot of things up our sleeves, hopefully in the next couple years, that are going to be focused on how can we deliver more entertainment and more interactivity for our players? How can we connect with them in a digital and online world that we're not allowed to touch from a gaming platforms right now?
So you really need a good communication program to tackle that and reactivate those players back. Maybe one extra challenge that we saw in the data points over the past few months is that those new players that were acquired during the heights of the pandemic, it looks like that their life cycle is much shorter than the players that were acquired prior. And if the operator really don't have this process to reactivate those players back, it's likely that the operator is not able to keep that higher level of playership after the economy shifts back to more normal.
So by the time we had our plan in place, we knew what ads were working in order to entice new players and really get in front of players who we may not have seen in a while, and found that this one that you're seeing in the screen actually was one of our top performing ads that we put out. So once that was determined, we actually shifted a lot of our focus there. We, during the time, and still can actually see where this ad is performing and sending referrals, registrations, and new players, more so than Google and people coming directly to the website. And we, in the history of us working in this area, had not seen that before.
Right now the opportunity for online gaming is significant. That opportunity comes twofold, is that land-based gaming has limitations right now. There are some folks who don't want to go to casinos. There are some folks who can't go to casinos. Some casinos are closed. While there's been fits and starts in some of these land-based casinos, online gaming has, seen dramatic improvement in revenue growth, because you can sit at home, you can play, just like a lot of sort of things from home these days that have done extremely well.
Are looking for any sector that can demonstrate significant growth, and they're happy to pay a multiple for it. So we've seen incredible multiple expansion on fast-growing businesses. Online gaming, digital sports isn't changing the nature of what consumers are looking at. It just provides them a different channel to get access to it. And if everyone has to stay home, then the best channel, in my opinion, and I think the market is reflecting that, is the digital channel. And so we're seeing incredible migration now from old land-based retail type consumption to digital online. And you're seeing that in e-commerce stocks, you're seeing that in gaming stocks. So it's an amazing time to be investing in this industry.
With online, everyone's like, oh no, sports isn't going to come back. They're not going to come back with fans. And for us, we're like, we just need some sports to be back. Because fans, our technology is online and we don't need fans in the stands. If anything, we love fans at home because we can engage them with our content. So we had to really, change our focus, and B2B became a big focus for us. We were a very B2C focused initially, and B2B was on our timeline. But we shifted. We're like, how can we accelerate partnerships now? People have time to talk on the phone. People are bored. How can we talk to the decision makers? So we were really aggressive in connecting with decision makers.
We were hip to the game around sports betting. And what we really felt is that there was going to be the right partner for us that could bring things and deliver things that we could not, and that we could bring our millions and millions of fans, but also this massive marketing machine and a lot of energy and passion around sports betting. We could bring those two things together.
I guess the biggest accomplishment would be going to Apple and getting the first mobile app and getting Apple to put us in their store and accept us. We had to go to Cupertino, meet with their attorneys and convince them that everything was secure. They were afraid that if a big bet hit, they were going to be the ones responsible for it. They didn't understand that we were regulated by the Gaming Control Board and Gaming Commission here, that we had reserves in place that would be sufficient to cover the bet. And at that time, we were an SEC corporation too. So it took us about 3 hours there at Cupertino to talk the Apple people into letting us do it, but they felt comfortable after that. And it was quite an experience just going there, because we were the only two in suits and everybody else was in torn jeans and t-shirts.
You know, it could have easily been viewed as Nevada having a monopoly. And that was a position, I think, a long time ago. But when we actually took the time to answer questions and look at the marketplace, that clearly was not the case given the size of the illegal market. So I think the work that we did to actually get the industry to align and coalesce behind a position was extremely meaningful. And
the strongest moment that I had was getting MGM ready to move into the next phase of legalization and expansion, if and when it was coming. And we prepared hard, on the if, that it was going to come. I spent, as Vic will know, many weeks in Eastern Europe, developing some software and putting a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and making sure that we had something that was able to advance us into the next sector. But more importantly, positioning the company to be able to be one of the first to take advantage of expansion in the jurisdiction.
I'll try not to be too braggadocial here, but I got internet gaming through as well. Again, over the casino, and my good friend David Batts at Caesars said, we're going to get it done federally. We're going to get it done federally. I said, no, you're not. No, you're not. And I told them why. And we went ahead. They didn't like me going ahead in New Jersey. But I do want to make this one point clear about internet gaming that I think everybody knows. That's where the money is. That's where the revenue is for the states, and that's where the action is. And if you just have sports betting without internet gaming, if states are going just in that direction, they're missing a big part of the action.